back on the West Coast Flagrancy, right? We're already back again, right? It's our third episode in a row, correct? I'm having a lot of fucking fun. I don't know about you guys. Doesn't it feel like our production value just keeps going up and up and up and up? I think by the time we get to like our 100th episode, we might actually already be in a studio. That's just me being optimist, being an optimist. But how are you guys doing today? How are you doing, Rick? How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. How we feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. I woke up on the right side of the bed, not on the left. You know what I'm saying? How about you, Rick? I mean, Grinch. Oh my God, look at me. I have not started the day right. I thought I did.
Why are you nervous?
I'm nervous. I am actually very
Put you
nervous
off.
because we're getting good at this, and um, and
Pretty
I'm
good at this.
yeah, we're getting good at this. How you doing,
You can
Grinch?
tell by the millions and millions of listeners.
Well, by the time they go back and watch this, they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, look at where they are now." Are you gonna tell me how you're doing, Grinch, or are you just gonna ignore me?
I was just gonna ignore you.
Yeah. So, what else is new? Fucking Jeff Bezos now worth 200 billion. Worth, right? I'm worth a lot more than that in terms of sentimental value. But if it's worth anything, I mean, it doesn't really
Do
matter.
you,
It doesn't
do you
really
still have
matter
the
to me.
receipt?
The receipt for my value?
Yeah. Is there any way I can restore credit or
No, I don't work
cash?
I don't work like that. I
Mm.
I normally work off tips, if that makes any sense. But no, it doesn't make any sense. I was trying to think of something funny, but I couldn't think of anything funny.
I was like, are you selling your body? Is that what we're getting into?
Shit. Sex work is definitely something we should be touching on. I mean,
Oh, okay.
we should eventually. We should eventually talk about it. I think it's important. Do you think about? I don't know if you guys know who Bella Thorne is. Do you remember that Disney
No.
Channel
Yeah.
star? The one from the one with you know that girl from Spider-Man who plays MJ now. Um,
Which Spider-Man?
Homecoming with
Oh,
um,
Yeah.
what's her
What's her
Zoe?
name? Zoe something?
Oh man, I can't believe I
No.
The
forgot her
little
name.
skinny one, right?
No,
Yes,
it's
it is. But no, I okay. There are two skinny ones in Homecoming, but in Far From Home, she's the main love interest.
Yeah, like she's with Peter Parker.
What is her
like, all
name?
the
Can
time.
we just pull it up? Can we get a quick?
Yeah. It's
What's her
Your
name?
Goog is gonna
not
be
Zoe.
faster than
I
mine.
tell you.
Uh, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot her name. Well, anyways, Bella Thorne. You guys have heard of OnlyFans, right?
It's Zendaya.
Oh,
And I
Zendaya.
don't know how you
What I
were
said.
gonna. It would have been easier for us to really just Google Bella Thorne if that's what we're talking about.
Right, but I was trying to make the connection where she's from because Bella Thorne is really, in my opinion, a nobody. Um, but I mean, to some people, she's somebody. I mean, to the people that paid her over $2 million, close to $1 million in just photos for her. I mean, for her nude photos. I mean, you can't you can't hate on that. I mean, as much as you want to like be, oh well, why is she using her body for money, this and that? It's like, well, dog, like, why wish I had thought of it sooner? If I had,
Wait,
uh-huh.
Bella Thorne? This chick was not in Spider-Man. I might be looking at the wrong person.
No, Zendaya was the one in Spider-Man.
So what are you
Zendaya.
talking about Bella Thorne for?
Yeah, he was all over the place.
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
I was saying that Bella Thorne made a bunch of money, and I'm telling, she was on Disney. She was in the Zendaya. She was with Zendaya on that dance Disney show, where
Oh.
it doesn't matter. You guys didn't watch
No,
Disney
I
as
made
kids.
it.
You guys had no
Yeah.
childhood. It doesn't matter.
I don't think they were.
They were recently. Yeah, I know.
If they were recent, yeah, I'm not as an adult going back and looking at Disney Channel.
Grinch, can you put your volume down on your phone, please and thank you. Yeah, so that she's making tons of money off her nude photos, and we're over here, still trying to catch up to the curve. We should definitely make Grinch an OnlyFans because he's got, I would say, some really good photos of himself, some sharp ones. Um, what do you think, Rick? You think if Grinch started an OnlyFans, people would pay to see that animated body of his?
Absolutely. I thought if this failed, that was the next plan.
Yeah, I would get him. I would say we immediately like get rolling, get the ball.
Okay.
This is somebody just
What was that?
I don't know who that was.
You're over here talking about production value, and then yeah.
The best part about it is that like when I speak, I look at Rick right in front of me, and then when I'm looking down at you, my video feed looks like I'm paying attention to either of you when I speak. It's really clever. Today is August 28th. They're going to be presenting, Elon Musk is going to be presenting the Neuralink. Do you guys know what that is? Are you guys familiar with Neuralink whatsoever?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. Okay, well, for those of you listening, Neuralink is the future, right? Elon Musk has created, with obviously the help of some very smart people, are working on a chip that can be installed in the brain, right? These little electrodes that are going to be tied to your brain, right? They're going to drill a little hole, and then and there's going to be a machine that will wire the chip into your brain, right? And these little electrodes will send signals to parts of the brain that either are not working anymore or are having issues. For example, if your visual cortex is messed up, right? You're having issues with your vision. It can be possible through that Neuralink chip to restore your vision. Or in more extreme cases, if you are paralyzed, the chip will be able to bring feeling back to that part of the body. It is absolutely incredible. The coolest part about Neuralink is the fact that we will eventually be able to, and these are Elon Musk's words verbatim, be able to save our consciousness like a video game save file. Right now, take that in for a second, and you let me know what you think. You think you can do that? You think you can?
No, I don't need a second
One
to think.
question is what part of the brain? Like we were talking about, like the nervous system.
Well, the nervous system is connected to the brain, but it's not part of it. It's its own system, right?
So what part of the brain exactly are they going to be?
We're part of the brain. Okay, well, that exactly will depend a lot on the patient. For one thing, today, when the presentation happens later in the evening, I believe that they're going to show off exactly how the chip will work in real life situations. For example, if someone, like, I would assume that if the part of the brain that is inactive, right, that they're trying to help, it would probably be installed maybe in that area. I'm not too sure, but I would believe so, that if you have any issues on the left side of your brain, there might be like a designated area. I'm not too sure on exactly where it would be installed, like in terms of specifically on your head, but it will be installed. Like it will drill a hole in your skull, and you'll have.
If we're not sure
About
can,
what?
Can we pull it up and see like some of the article?
Well, it's not necessarily an article, but in the video, it essentially right, think of like the most corner of your head on the back side, and that's where it'll go. You'll have like little electrodes running down to behind your ear, and there'll be a little Bluetooth device an apparatus that can be attached to your ear. That apparatus will be connected to your phone, and so on and so forth, and you'll get firmware updates over the air, which I think is fascinating. But really the question is, are you ready to take the next step in human symbiosis? What about you? What do you think, Grinch? Like, you think you can become one with machine, or do you think it's unethical?
No, I'm not doing that.
Why? Why do you think it's unethical?
I'm listen. Next question. I'm not doing that shit.
No, I mean, Rick, what do you think? Take a second, Grinch, to tell. What do you think, Rick?
No, I mean I wouldn't, and I don't think it's natural.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was our intent. Um, the way we were supposed to live life is merging with technology.
Mm-hmm.
I think we spoke about it a little bit about it yesterday, and you said something about at a certain point with this, we wouldn't even have to communicate
Correct.
with anybody, and that takes
No,
a lot out
you
of
you wouldn't
human
have to move your
interaction.
mouth. You wouldn't have to move it.
Yes, you would just have you. It was almost like, uh, I'm blanking on the word, but pretty much, communicate just through the mind,
Yes. Yes.
um, which is
Telepathically.
thank you. Sorry with a T. But to me, that's the human interaction is very
But what it?
important to us,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and that takes it away.
Really? You think it will make us more separated and when would it mean like? Do you think it'll make us less connected?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
really?
Technology already does do that in general. If you think about how technology has evolved in the last couple of decades,
Mm-hmm.
like to where we're not even that old, but I can remember growing up, if somebody wanted, like if a friend wanted to get a hold of me, they
Mm-hmm.
can either call home, which we had a landline, which
Mm-hmm.
is non-existent really now,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're working like at work, you do have,
Landlines.
yeah, you have that, but you don't have, not every household has a landline. People have cell phones now.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody wanted to get a hold of you back then, it was either if they didn't catch you at home, they were gonna have to look for you. That was it. That was it. We had like what, pagers was the most.
That's early, yeah, stuff.
Yeah, that's really well. You look at it from there, and you're like, now you look at the stuff we have now, and you're like, oh, that was like
That feels like so
50
long ago.
years
Yeah,
ago. Yeah,
yeah.
that
It
was
was
so
like
long, and it's
yeah.
and it's not really. It's only a couple decades old, but
Yes.
we've evolved so much that it now people don't even want to have like a phone call. It's just no, just text me.
Yeah.
And over
That's.
text, that
Mhm.
takes a lot of that. That's the reason why I don't like texting. It takes a lot of the emotion um, out of your words.
Yeah. Audience, yes, he does mean that. He does not like to text. He's more of
Oh
a
no,
call guy.
yeah, that's not even like part of my argument or
Yeah,
anything.
that's
No,
just
I
him.
hate that. I'm a bad texter. One, I always forget to reply to people, and two, if it goes for more than like two texts, I'm like, nah, I'm calling this person. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna be
it
sitting
makes a
here
lot of
going
sense.
back and forth. I'll just call it. And to me, sometimes it's easier to do that than it is to text, but it removes so much out of our character away when and I get it, they have emojis and all this stuff, but a text can be interpreted in many ways when a conversation, if I'm telling you something, you hear it, you can take it the way I intended it to, the way I intended it to be heard.
Right, your tone. But you think that like if you have the chip in your brain and you lose,
Well, you'll hear, I think, Siri.
you
That's
think
what I think.
that's what you think
You'll
it'll
hear
sound like?
Siri, yeah, and it's like I don't.
It's it's funny you say that because if you think about your brain, right, as a computer that receives information, right? Every time we speak to each other, you are receiving my words in a compressed form, and when you start to hear and think about my words, you uncompress them, and your brain starts to fill in the gaps wherever that is, right? Like naturally. For example, um, if I was explaining something complicated to you, and I myself only only understand it to a certain degree, I would probably be able to compress the information into like a small summary and tell you about it, and then you'd probably remember like only what you know, like to be true. Like if you know that, uh, if I told you all apples are red, but you have prior knowledge of like, oh, not all apples are red. Some of them can be yellow, brown. You know, they have different colors, right? Red just being the most prettiest one that we are familiar with. Your brain will fill in blanks of information, right? Kind of like, I don't know, the way we send images over digital space, right? We're sending information in a compressed matter, in a compressed form, and then the computer receives it, uncompresses it, and then fills in the gaps of information. So that's what's happening with Neuralink. Neuralink is trying to map the human brain so that it is possible for us to not only replicate the the neurons in our brain, but our personalities, our our way of thinking. It'll get to the point where we could be in a room that is designated to bring your, I'm gonna put it simply, your imagination to mind. Like it'll be able to create 3D objects out of through virtual reality or augmented reality. Uh, so I don't know if you guys have ever seen Blade Runner with Ryan Gosling, not with Harrison Ford.
Now the newer one.
The newer one. No? Okay, there's this really cool scene where he comes home to his virtual assistant, and essentially that virtual assistant is an AI. But imagine that AI, right, can be replaced by your consciousness, right? I save my brain, and I can be projected into the house like a hologram, and I'll live there, like a ghost, except you can see me, right? I just wouldn't be able to leave the house with a physical body because I don't have one. And I think that's pretty cool. I, for one, am all for human machine symbiosis. And if you think about it, we're already like halfway there, right?
Oh, Jesus.
Well, okay, Grinch. Well, tell me your thoughts on this.
Well,
Why?
how are we halfway there? And if you tell me if your argument is that we're attached to our phones, then I'm gonna call bullshit.
I don't believe we're attached to our phones. I do
So
believe some people.
how are we halfway synced with?
Because I think it's naive to think that we're not. Your cell phone is a tool that most people cannot leave their home without because it's everything to them. You don't need anything else but your cell phone if you're um, you know, nowadays your smartphone can do way more than a 2005, and maybe overthinking it, but a laptop, right? Like it can.
What are these explanations? Are you just pulling these out of your ass?
No, this is true. I mean, like your phone. Like your.
What about my house keys? Can't leave without those.
But that's
I
different.
need my wallet.
They can't tell you
My
where to
wallet's got
go
my
or
driver's
schedule.
license.
Like, yeah, you can do everything by hand, but everything is done electronically now, almost.
Yeah, but the difference is, right now, we have free will to be able to just not use it at all. Once, in this chip, once we start really infusing together, it's like, well, now it's a part of you.
Yeah, I think my opinion on that is that, uh-huh.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say is that I think we should embrace that because it's gonna happen eventually, and if we resist the idea.
That's a horrible way to look at it. Just like eventually it'll happen. It's like, yes, eventually we also will die. So
Well,
Yeah,
that is true.
Why
Yes.
is this set in stone that it's eventually going to happen for sure? Who says? People
Uh,
like you,
Yeah,
who are
people like me who are
out of your mind
optimistic.
and think this is a good idea.
Look, I think it's a good idea because it's beneficial for a lot of people who do need the benefits of it. Now, for those who are paraplegic, handicapped, you know, m- um, if they have, if they're missing a limb and they have, a robotic hand, those kinds of things already exist where you can send signals from the brain to, uh, you know, a artificial arm, and it will respond.
And it
Now,
will
uh huh.
and it will do the functions of an arm. An arm doesn't think for itself. You think, and the arm responds.
No,
How do you not see the issue in this? That you have a chip in your brain. Do you really think that nobody can hack this thing and then?
no. See, the way it works, just to be clear, is that the chip itself, right? Without getting into some very complicated, uh, like design about it, the chip is designed to essentially be just a like a conduit for the information that travels through it, right? For example, the little device, the little apparatus that will go behind your ear, as far as I know, because we'll learn more information as the day goes on. It will deliver the signals from here to the electrodes that are attached to the chip. Electrodes being the little wires that are inserted into your brain, right?
I think you're missing my point here. I understand how it works, but what you're saying is you don't believe that this thing can get hacked and somebody can control whatever the hell this thing can do to you. And on top of that, two other things. One, there's no way this thing doesn't send a signal to let the government know exactly where you are at all times. It's one thing that our phones already do that, and I know that, but you can leave your phone in a place, and then nobody can track you. You have this thing in your brain, you can't get away from it.
Um.
Also,
Uh huh.
me. All right, I wasn't don't roll your eyes either. Listen, all right, because now on top of that, one of the even worse parts about this thing as well is because you have this access, or apparently even faster access to information than you do on your phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the idea.
Correct.
Now you're gonna have people who have this thing in their head and think that they're gonna think that they're fucking super geniuses, which is not the case. You just have access to this information. Everybody does. That doesn't mean it's like these people that go to the doctor, but they WebMD their symptoms, so they tell the doctor what's wrong with them, and then the doctor's like, no, that's not what's going on here. You just fucking Google searched your symptoms. Like, that doesn't make you an MD. Do you follow what I'm saying?
I think I would. Yeah, I do feel you. Like there are people who. Okay, so
it's not about having access to the information. It's somebody sharing the knowledge with you, and whether you can retain that and practice it. That's how you have working knowledge of any subject matter. With this, all it is, oh, I don't know about this. Let me get a quick summary of it, and I'm good to go.
But isn't that the right thing to do when you're in a situation?
How is that the right thing to do? Do you know how many? There's going to be like 10 times more obnoxious people in the world who think they know something they fucking have no idea about.
Well, I would encourage people. This is me being, like, on the better end of it. Why don't people just already do that? Why don't they already do that? If it doesn't take more than 30 seconds to Google something. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, if it'll just, I don't think people are gonna just be like, oh, I've got Google in my brain, so let me just Google everything. Yeah, that might be the case for some people, but I really don't think, because think about it, what kind of sociable person is out all the time saying, oh, let me fucking Google this because I don't fucking believe you? I think the best part of human experience is when you're having a genuine conversation with somebody, and for just a moment you stop talking and you listen to what the other person has to say, because you might learn something, which I think is really important. But with Neuralink, I think our social interactions will be affected, not a lot, because not everybody will have one, because I'm sure people skeptical of it are going to be like, oh, you're going to get 5G virus from it and shit. I'm going to be like, okay, whatever. But no, I disagree. I don't think there's going to be more obnoxious people. I think people are going to be more easily called out on their bullshit when somebody wants to pretend like they know what they're talking about, which happens a lot right now.
Like somebody describing Neuralink?
Yeah. For sure. No, that's exactly right. All the information that I know, I've compressed it and I'm sending it out to everybody listening and hearing this, because the way the brain is working it out is you're receiving everything I'm telling you about Neuralink and you're filling in the gaps about how it works, right? Your brain is automatically doing that.
Let's not pretend to be neuroscientists here.
And for sure, see, like, again, if why don't people already pull their phones out and just say, "Oh, well, look, let me
They
Google this."
they do.
Sure, they do, but they don't do it often enough that it shows that, look, is there a correlation between the people who, like, you would think we're a lot smarter than we are be ever, slightly, right, and more educated, but you would think that with that comes with the
You
ability
think
to.
that makes you educated and you being able to Google something?
I think that being able to use a smartphone properly is a good enough, like, um, skill.
Is it no being able to just
Well,
type in whatever you want to know
Mm,
into a search engine and it giving you results?
yes,
Because
because
I
it.
mean, we don't
Mhm.
do the way we, again, growing up, I remember going into encyclopedias and actually being able to just like search, and they would give us a topic, and we'd be able to pull it, whatever letter it is, find it, and then, you know, try to get that information right about it. But that's the way we learned. It was, you know, we actually looked at it, wrote it, try to summarize it, so you retain the information instead of just Google searching it and being like, oh, that's what it is. Usually when I Google something, and this may just be me, but when I Google something, like you say some shit and I'm like, like the nervous system, I looked it up. I looked it up. I fucking already forgot what it is. All I was looking it up for was to make a point, and then that's it. I didn't learn anything. It doesn't make me more educated. I just looked it up to prove something, and then be like, all right. And now I forgot about it because
Mhm.
I'm not practicing the information. I'm not writing anything about it. I'm
Mhm.
just Google searching.
Right. See again. Uh, yeah, the difference between looking up some information versus learning the top versus learning about it, I can understand the difference. But
Because then it's almost like, oh, people will say, well, I have this chip. So why would I really need to go to school for if a subject comes up, I can just Google it in my head and
ooh,
be able to just get the information. What is the point of spending time at a college, university, learning about something when I can just Google it?
okay, well, look, you look. You need to be careful because you said college, right? I thought you were gonna say something like high school, because in my
No,
opinion.
because high school, like I went to public high school. No one had to pay for that. I'm saying now we're spending money. That's why people like kind of either you go to college or you don't because you either can afford college or you can't.
Look, it's not a matter of, like, okay, it is a matter of how quickly things get done because there's a lot of artificial intelligence that can help you do things better than a human can. But there are things you need a human for, right? Because you can't get a robot to do your plumbing for you. You need a human hand for that. Okay? I'm not saying robots are incapable of doing plumbing, but plumbers do a hell of a lot more for us than anyone else in terms of sanitation. And I mean that if you want to look into it. Now, what you said about, what would be the point of going to school if I've got this chip, right? What would be the point of going to college? We already understand that colleges right now have the issue of not actually teaching us anything valuable, in my opinion. I'm not saying that the experience is not valuable, but I think that the education is a little bit lackluster, depending on where you go, obviously. Now, people can make it, right? But if you have that, people can make it without college, but if you have that chip and you can just Google search anything you need, or um, get a program to do things for you, right? Like, you need litigation papers, you can get a computer to do that for you. You need there's like transactions like that can be done online. You don't need a person to do that. Um, you know, you said you went to the library and you studied the encyclopedia. You didn't study the encyclopedia. You used it for information. That's what it used to be, but now we're sitting at desktops looking on Google for information that was once not readily available to us. I think that's a great part about being human, is that we can choose not to, like, have all that information, but again, not all of it is important. Like, you're retaining only what you want. And with Neuralink, you'll retain all of it. So there won't be that gray area where it's like, okay, well, this is irrelevant to me. I don't need it. But at any point in time, you could pull it up and be like, oh, well, you know what? Actually, that's how it works. Now, if we're talking about being social and having a chip in your
Wait,
brain,
hold on.
uh-huh.
What are you saying that you are going to be able to retain the information?
Well, yeah, of course. If you have Google in your brain and you can pull it
That's
up.
okay. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's not retaining the information. That's just Google searching it again.
Well, how long before you retain the information? Like if you're constantly.
I mean, that's yeah, that goes down to the individual. But just like yeah, just Googling something doesn't mean that you actually have real knowledge about it. You just have like a small idea, a small summary of whatever that subject is. And if you can't go in depth into whatever the subject it is, that's not retained information, because you can have to pull that shit up. You're gonna, oh, hold on a second, let me Google search it with my fucking little chip here, and then you have to go more in depth. And then on top of that, there's on Google, whatever subject it is, there's like a million different websites, and some of them are misleading, and some of them just have wrong facts on there. So like, how are you gonna be able to distinguish what's true and what's not about whatever subject you don't actually know anything about or have zero experience in?
I don't think.
Like if you and I were started talking about whatever plumbing, all right, let's say we knew nothing about plumbing, and
Cool,
we did
okay.
a little Google search about it, and then later on we had another plumbing issue. That might have been a bad example. It would have to be something a lot more complicated.
No,
But I think you
that
know
would
what I
make,
mean.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, you need that's a skill, right? Plumbing, right? Because it's a trade.
No, I'm not talking about plumbing. I'm talking about just in general. That's why plumbing was a bad topic.
Okay.
Give me
So
an example.
what are you asking me? What are you saying again exactly?
What I'm saying is you're not that's not retaining information. That's just Google searching it again. It's not retention.
Okay. The thing about Neuralink is that it'll help improve brain function, right? In areas that
I think that's really cool. Yeah, that it'll help anybody who has, who's been paralyzed or has, some kind of issue that maybe this thing can fix. Like maybe somebody who has
mhm.
poor vision, but it's not something in the eye, in the actual eyeball. It's maybe something in the brain or whatever. I don't know, because I don't actually fucking know anything about that stuff. But as far as that goes, yeah, that's great that it can help there. But as far as being able to just Google search anything, also them knowing where you are 24 hours a day, not cool. And then on top of that, there's no way this fucking thing doesn't have a self-destruct device inside of it that they're not telling you about. So anytime you start getting out of line with your little fucking comments about college doesn't teach you anything and all this stuff, all they gotta do is, hey, Juarez, he's done. Hit the button. Hit the big red button.
And you got to think, you
done.
don't know how much of that information is actually yours, or that creativity, that imagination that you spoke about. How much of it is yours and not the chips?
Also,
it takes away your individual person.
And also, is this thing is, I'm sure, tracking everything you're Google searching. It's also listening to everything you're talking about. It's seeing everything that you're seeing. How are you so optimistic about this? How are you not seeing the red flags?
Because
what's going on?
Because the positives outweigh the positive
It's only
benefits.
for those that honestly like this. It is cool. I think that
Yeah.
For people that are paralyzed, maybe have a learning deficiency or something.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great. But it's not for. I don't think it's for everyone.
Uh,
It's not for-
Be
it's
something
not for
that's
healthy-
yeah, like someone
It's
like
not
you.
for able-bodied people. Yeah.
Again.
Not everyone
uh-huh.
is meant to reach the stars. It's just not. And then it doesn't make, those. Let's say somebody had it, right? So you got it or whatever,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden you became like this superstar. Like you just blew everyone out of the water. How much of that is you?
I would argue that it's all you if the chip was able to help unlock the rest of your brain.
We're not talking about the limitless pill here. We're talking about a device in your brain.
Well, unfortunately, that's what it's gonna be like.
Like that's not your like, let's say retention, right?
Yeah.
Your ability to retain something is not altered by this device.
Altered? No, I
That's
would
not
say it's
you.
more.
Even if it helps you, because
Yes.
you're talking about alter as in like a bad connotation, like, oh no, it's a
No,
bad thing.
right.
It
I see what you're saying.
helping is
Okay, yeah.
still altered.
Sure. Yes. Healthy could be. Yeah.
I think the way that David is seeing this is not altering, it's enhancing. But I don't
Yes,
think that
alter is still the same. It just has a bad connotation attached to it. then you can use enhance, fine. It
Uh-huh.
enhances your brain. That's still not you. That is the chip.
No, I
You were
disagree.
meant to do a certain amount of thing just humanly.
Uh-huh.
And now
I
you're
would.
adding technology to it. It's not
Yeah.
really you.
Okay, that the question of which where that's something I do think about a lot. When we will get to this point, maybe within the next 50 years, I honestly think it'll be that soon, where we will see the beginnings of people who are becoming one with machine, and their realities become uh, will probably be a lot different from ours because again you're a humanity, right? What makes you human? Your emotions,
Crumbling.
sleep,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
crumbling.
How do you manage all that, right? When you're no longer mostly
Wait,
human.
what?
What I'm saying is we'll get to the point where we become one with machines, right? Where you'll be able to
No.
save, yes, you'll be able to save your consciousness like a video game file. It'll be that simple. And I only look for those people listening. If you're interested in these kinds of like topics and facts, I would recommend you go look into the theory of uh, is it information? I believe the theory of information. Essentially, our brain can be mapped out like with numbers and um, different functions that it has, right? So we'll be able to figure out which kinds of functions, right, are part of our behavior and part of our conscious mind. That's why when I said that when it gets to the point where humans and machine are one, and you can just upload your consciousness to another body, to a machine, um, things like sleep and eating will, in my opinion, will probably be simulated, or you just won't sleep. You'll just be that productive. Like you won't have the need for that kind of circadian rhythm, which I think like not everybody is going to like that because people want to live like human, normal,
Yeah, like live life.
just live life. If, have you guys ever seen Altered Carbon on Netflix?
No.
Jesus, that's a really great sci-fi show for those of you listening. Altered Carbon on Netflix. Just watch season 1. You
Didn't
guys.
it get canceled for the
Yeah,
second
season
season?
3. Yeah, season 2 was disgusting. Yeah. Nothing,
It's a great show, but
nothing on
it
Anthony
got
Mackie.
canceled.
Nothing towards Anthony Mackie. He's an okay actor, but the problem is that season 2 was the plot line got really shitty. The first season played a lot with the idea that uh, humans are easily expendable. Our bodies are expendable because you can just easily replace your consciousness into another body.
Listen, that's people thinking that people are expendable has been going on since like World War II, man. I mean, that's not really something new. It's not a new idea.
No, but this is the difference in this show was the idea that if you can't afford, if you die, you have the chance to be what they called re-sleeved. A sleeve, meaning your human body. Um, they had this scene where if, for example, you couldn't afford another sleeve, they would give you a hand-me-down one, like from the poverty center. So if your 6-year-old daughter died, right, in a horrible car accident, like her body was destroyed, and
Mm.
you couldn't afford to get another sleeve for her, they would just give you one off the secondhand shelf, and you might end up getting like a tall black dude. You know what I'm saying? Um,
That's interesting. Actually,
yes.
I might want to check that out. But now that there's only 2 seasons, I might not.
No, just watch the first season. It's not real.
Don't tell me what to do, please. All right, we can get into that. But don't do
Yeah.
that.
See, that's the thing though. Like, I don't think it'll make us any more separate than social media does, because social media is its own fucking animal. Uh, so Neuralink for me is something I'm all for. Like, I'm excited to get it installed. I'm just curious.
Yeah, but you're dumb.
No, see, I'm only dumb to a certain extent. That's why I want the chip. I want to make up for the dumbness. Everybody's got like a percentage of dumbness. That saying, I may be dumb,
What do
but
you
I'm
know?
not stupid. I wouldn't know. Look, uh, whether you like it or not, I know this is. I don't want to go into too much conspiracy theory, but hey, if those gray aliens that we see, well, the ones that are considered to be alien, you know how they have little mouths, big eyes, big brain, small bodies. I think that's just future us. We're talking with our
Yeah, but nobody knows if they have this fucking. They probably don't have this technology in their brains because they don't need it. Because have you seen the size of their fucking cranium?
exactly. Maybe they evolved
What
to
do
the
you mean?
point.
Exactly what? That's
That's
you're.
what I'm saying.
So
Like, what
you're
difference
agreeing
is
with
it?
my point.
No, no, no. The point I'm making is what
The
difference is it?
difference. The difference is they don't have this shit in their heads. There isn't a man-made drilled hole in their fucking skull because that's what you haven't mentioned because that's what's going to be required. Drilling a fucking hole into your skull,
Oh yeah.
planting this
Uh
chip
huh.
in, sealing it back up,
Yes.
fucking sewing that little hole back, and then fucking sending you on your way. There you go. Google away, my friend.
You just made a good point. I forgot to mention how the procedure works, real quick as I wrap this up. The procedure for the Neuralink is very simple. Neurosurgeons, there are not enough in the world for everybody for the job to be done properly. So they created a special machine with 3 sensors. Each of those sensors can identify blood vessels in the brain and track them as the electrical nodes from the chip are inserted. It's incredible. It's done at a very sophisticated manner. If anybody here has ever gotten LASIK surgery, right? It's like the most non-invasive surgery you can get.
I think. Oh, there's no way that's true.
LASIK, right? It's
I
when
think
they
you're.
shoot a laser beam into your eye to help uh, uh,
I think
with your
you're missing my
vision.
point. You kind of got away from my
No, no,
point
no. What
there.
I'm saying is that it'll be that easy in the future. You'll be able to walk into a clinic, get the chip in, and walk out the same day.
No,
Like
my point is that the aliens with the super giant brains, they don't have this in there.
I just brought that up because there's a theory that that's just us from the future. We're not using our mouths to speak. We're using our craniums to send messages and shit. Um, Again, but I don't want to get into that because that's a whole nother boat of fish. But yeah, for sure, like it'll be that simple for you to walk into a clinic, get your shit, and get out. Um, and I think that's gonna be, for me. I'm just excited. I'm hella excited.
Well, you enjoy that self-destruct pill that's going to be in your brain by the government, by all means.
Rick, look at me. Talk to me, baby. Fuck.
Now, talking about things that have evolved in the last couple decades, social media.
What about it?
Social media. Well, if you let me talk, maybe I can get it out. Social media completely different for when we were kids.
From when you were a kid.
Now, oh, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about again, like I had said earlier, if I wasn't home, nobody can get a hold of me.
That's
To
true.
now, everyone's
absolutely
tweeting
true.
where they're at. They're tagging.
Tagging? Oh, you mean
Yeah,
like tagging, like
people.
tagging people?
Yeah,
I thought
no,
you
not
meant like,
not. I know we're from LA, so all you think of tagging is um,
Fucking
from the
criminals.
streets out here.
you watch your mouth.
But I mean, has it become way too invasive? Because now a lot of people are just putting their entire lives out there, right? From posting pictures of what they eat, which I think is annoying as fuck. Um, Checking in to the places they're at.
Hold on, babe. Let me take a photo of my food. Let me get it
I hate
before.
that so much. It's like, no, if the
Can
food is
you wait
here,
one
I'm
second?
gonna eat it.
Can you wait 1 second? Oh my God! Here, let me get the right angle. Let me get
Dude,
the.
every time I go to hang out, yeah, every time I go hang out with this girl, and we go like somewhere to eat, she always wants to take a picture of her food, and I always, I'm like, no, stop that shit, cut that shit out. Right before she takes it, I'll like throw my hand in front of the camera and shit, or like I shake the table or whatever. Like, no, cut that shit out. Can you just stop trying to post everything and live in this in the moment? Like,
In
for
the
Christ's sake.
It's
In
a.
the moment. And I think that's the issue that I have with social media is certain people. Um, it's great that you get to share your life with other people, like reach people out maybe in other countries, in other states. Um, at the same time, you there's certain people that stop living in the moment because they want to get the perfect picture. They want to get even when this they don't want to bring it up, but even through like the protests that were happening, the Black Lives Matter, probably a bunch of people were going out there and just taking the perfect picture of them holding a sign,
Well, that is true.
or
Yeah.
just just there and posting it as like, oh, you got to support, but probably were only there for like a minute, 5 minutes, just trying to get the perfect shot and then left. Don't care about the cause.
Hmm.
They just want to get that, those likes, the subscribers, the clout.
Are you implying that social media is toxic and bad for you? Is that what you're saying?
Is this sarcasm coming out of your mouth?
I know, right? I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that there are people who are using it to their own advantage in a way that can be toxic and not healthy. But the problem is, with that comes the responsibility of how you handle your, what do you call it, online persona, right? Because what people see online versus what they really see you like on in real
Or what
life.
you really are like in
Yeah.
real life.
I mean, shit. Like I for one, taking photos of things, I'm trying to get better at. Because before I wasn't taking photos of things, but now I think I understand the meaning of taking a photo. But see, like it used to mean more to get your photo taken, right? Because it was like a one-time thing, right? It was like, oh shit, we're gonna take a photo. Put your best clothes on. Put your best. It's photo day. Like,
What fucking century are you in, man?
are you kidding me? Were you not happy to go to photo day all dressed up, así bien bonito y todo?
No,
What, dude?
it's just another day. It's because whenever we had those things, I remember, it was always a school where we had like school uniforms and shit. So it's like, no, just go, take your picture, and then go to class. It's not like it's
Now,
not
I
like
think I think it depends on your family, because at least for me, my mom was always really worried because she would get the big package and then like distribute them for some reason.
No, yeah, my
So
mom
it's
would do the
like, oh,
same
you
thing.
gotta
Yeah.
look your best. Like the
Yes.
rest of the year, you can look like shit, but today, make sure your hair is good. And sometimes they would allow us. I think either middle school they would. I don't remember, but they would allow us to that day have like um, no uniform. It'd be a free day for you
Oh,
to
you know
wear
what? You're
whatever.
right. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I do
It
remember
would
that.
just be
Yeah,
that day though.
yeah, yeah. But still, like, even still, it's not like a huge thing. It's like, all right, go in, take your picture, and go back to class. It's not like it's not like
No.
posing or whatever. Like,
I
yeah,
don't
you have
know,
that
because
that
that
posing
picture
Yes.
aspect.
affected you
It's
for the
yeah.
rest of the
It
year.
did. Yeah. The way you dressed up. That
I mean,
should.
that went in the yearbook. That day meant every other day doesn't matter. But when people look back,
I mean, like, damn.
yeah, they'll be like, oh,
When they look back, they're gonna see that picture of mostly your head and some of your traps. They're not seeing
Some of
your
your
whole fucking
traps.
ensemble.
Just get my traps in. Look, every day has turned into photo day on social media. Every day has turned into photo day, because everybody
I
wants
think
to
they
look their
called it
best.
picture day.
What is it? What was I calling it? Photo day?
You were
photo
saying
day.
photo day because you're trying to sound like you're smarter than you actually are.
No,
But it was
actually, I
picture
said
day.
photo day because it just blanked out. Picture day, right? Because it's been so long since I've had a picture day.
I was going to say photograph.
Yeah,
Photograph day.
yeah, photograph day. I looked forward to it so much, just being able to wear whatever I wanted. I would make sure I had like my finest fit for the photo. Now, um, social media has now sort of accentuated that feeling of like, well, I gotta look my best at all times if I'm gonna share something. Some people don't see it like that, but if you're a young person and you're using social media, I think it can be detrimental for your mental health if you're constantly comparing yourself to the other kids at school who have much cooler lifestyles online than you do. And again, like that doesn't mean they're better off than you. I think it's the mental, the psychological factor that like children are easily manipulated and are naive to what they see. So they see their their classmates living this extravagant lifestyle online, and to them they're like, well, why is my lifestyle not like theirs? Like I take photos just like them. Why do they get more likes? Like all that stuff triggers the pleasure centers in the brain when somebody gets tons of likes. I mean, this is, I'm not gonna pretend like everybody knows this, but if you're listening right now and you don't think social media has a negative effect on you as a young person, then you should take the time to look at the the numbers, um, that show things uh, correlated with like depression, suicide, um, and mental well-being. Essentially, I mean, I guess those fall under mental well-being, right? For me, the most toxic app is Instagram right now, in my opinion. Some would argue
Really?
it's, yes, I think it's Instagram. Some would argue it's Twitter, and you can make a
I
great
would
case for
say
that.
probably TikTok.
Why do
Has a
you?
way wider young demographic, um, I think, than any other social media right now.
Yeah, I'm. I don't really. I'm not too familiar with TikTok. I just know that it's like a social media form of videos, right? Like short clips and videos. I don't really. I'll be honest. I downloaded the app once. I didn't even launch it, so I've only seen what other people have used it like to be. I know it's the most popular one. I've never actually used it, like or
Why
recorded
did you
anything.
download it if you never had any
I
intention of using it?
downloaded it
It's that
because,
bandwagon stuff. I'm telling you.
yes, it's a
I see you're a
bandwagon
People,
thing.
follower.
yeah.
Dude, it's because social media. Look, there's another reason why it like broke off from social media. Not entirely, because Twitter, in my opinion, I think is uh, both an amazing place and a really shitty place. Um, but again, like Instagram for me, toxic because it promotes this online persona that you are not, in my opinion. I mean, some people are genuinely who they are online and who they are in in real life, but um, somebody who is like addicted to it, I think maybe there's an issue there because you can be addicted to social media.
I think that's all social media is, honestly. Even Twitter. I mean, people
True.
can say whatever they want. That's a social media as a whole. Is people will just, you only get to see so much of the person as how they're presenting themselves to you on social media. You're not going to be able, unless you know them personally, you're not going to be able to actually know them. And it's always sad when like followers, something comes out like a scandal about influencers, and then everyone's like, I can't believe it. It's like, well, kind of can, because you didn't know the person personally. You only knew the part that they let you see.
I see what you're saying. Right. Um, Controlling what people see about you. Right. That's another thing too. I think like if you're a bad person in real life, but online you come off as a different person, sure that can be misleading. But I don't.
Oh, absolutely. Like these fucking videos
Catfish? Oh,
where
sorry.
it's like cabbage is a whole different thing. Um,
But it is.
about
Yeah.
like doing nice things or whatever. It's like, oh, doing a nice gesture, and they get like thousands of views or whatever. And it's like, to
Isn't
me,
that?
sometimes I'm like, there's no way that actually happened
It,
in real life.
isn't
Like
that
that
called
had to be almost staged. But
called
yeah,
virtual
people believe that
signaling?
because they just
Yeah.
want to see good things, and they'll just believe it that this person, that they follow, has that good heart. Some people do. Not saying that all of them don't, but there's just these few, and good on them for knowing their audience and knowing how to manipulate them to get followers, to get support, and make money off the people viewing these things. It's just like those family channels.
Family channels?
They, yeah, the like the YouTube family channels where they have like they vlog most of like their stuff that they do.
Oh, right. Yes. Uh huh. Yeah, I know
And
what
they
you're
just
talking about.
throwing their kids in front of the camera to make people be like, oh,
That
they're getting a
is.
view off that. And it's sad because it's like the kid doesn't know any better.
Yes.
So you don't know if they want to be in front of, like, that affects them, and that affects the rest of their lives.
Yeah. For sure, there is that negative effect of like children growing up with this idea, this image of themselves. Maybe that um, is detrimental. As they get older, they realize that they're not who they thought they were, right? In the sense that they're always this turned on, like happy and cheerful person, and that's who they think they have to be all the time. So they're whenever they're faced with negative emotion, they they get really angry, or they're wondering why things didn't go their way, right? Because kids are getting upset at each other for not having like certain Fortnite skins and shit, right? Like you're getting bullied for not having online, notoriety or like or style, whatever. I mean,
What?
yeah, true. It's
I
true.
never heard that
Like,
before.
think it's alright. Like,
Kids are getting bullied because they don't have like a certain online presence. I don't think that's a thing.
no, it is a
Is
thing.
that a thing?
It is a thing. Like where people
So
have.
because
Uh huh.
so if you're a kid and you only have like whatever, like 20 Instagram followers, people are gonna pick on you because you
Oh
only have 20
yeah.
Instagram followers.
Oh yeah, bro.
Oh shit, I
Kids
didn't
are
know that.
arguing over the most arbitrary things, right? But that's what kids do, right? Like you want something, that kid has 10 sticks, you have 5 sticks, you want more, you go fucking. You're gonna want.
You
You're
go,
thinking.
you get a job, you earn the money, and you buy
Oh
more
yeah.
sticks, and you beat the shit out of him.
Well, look, these kids are kids, right? I mean, we all were once kids. I mean, some of us still are, but that's debatable. And and you naturally, as a human being, I think more for men, well, women do this too. When you see something you want and you don't have it, you get this effect where you're like, oh, I really want that. How do I get it? How do I like like what is this feeling that I get because this person has a better car than I do and I don't? Like, should I try to get a better car so that I can live up to this person's image or keep up with
Depends
them?
what you want in life.
I mean, but
Yeah, that's
that's where the toxicity comes in because you're not thinking for yourself, right?
I mean, how weak-minded are you that this has that much of an effect on you?
Well, we were talking
We're,
like, one, there's everybody's not doesn't have the same mental strength that you would, right, Grinch? But also the demographic that, like, for me, that's why I said TikTok was, I think, the most toxic out of right now, is because it has such a young audience. And
hmm
it's you only really kind of find your, if at all, you really kind of find yourself, or know who you really want to be, and later in life. The teenagers that we're talking about now really don't know what they want, so they're just seeing this stuff and they're like, oh well, I want that. They don't know, I think, at this point, what is important and what's not. I think when we were younger, or no, at least when I was young, growing up with almost nothing, I wanted everything. I was like, well, I want a nice car. I want to. At this point in my life, I'm like, I don't. As long as it gets me from point A to point B, don't really care how my car looks.
but if you were that teenage, well, if your mind was a little less fortified, you'd probably feel a certain type of way when you saw someone else on your feed who is quote unquote looks like they're doing much better than you, right? They look like they're happy, they're they're outside, they're running, they're with their significant other, shit looks poppin', shit is filtered. Um, to me, I mean, I know that if you're watching, that came off a bit cynical, and that's just that for me. I can't stand it. I'm not saying I don't enjoy social media, because I use the hell out of Twitter. Like I'm addicted to Twitter. I'll be honest. Like before I go to bed, like I have to check my feed or my timeline. Putting my phone down to not check what's going on in the world is difficult enough for me because I like the news cycle for me. I enjoy keeping up with it, even if I'm not constantly staying informed in that sense. But information just flowing, right? Just flowing through social media. For me, I see the detrimental effects on my mental well-being, uh, because recently I brought this up to you guys, right? I had a my own example of which, like, what happens when someone is having a hard time with their social media and they, you know, are trying to disconnect. How do you do that? Like, how do you disconnect from always being on it to now not keeping up with people who, you keep up with, right? Some people have a really hard time separating that. They don't, they're not able to say, okay, let me take a step back, and let me take a step back and smell the
Hold
roses.
on. I feel like you're jumping around all over the place.
Am I
Like,
jumping
a second
around
ago,
all
you
over
were
the
talking
place?
about you. Yeah, a second ago you were talking about you having trouble not being able to go to bed without checking it. Now you're talking. Now I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Sorry, I was trying to explain that, uh, the effects of, like, trying to separate yourself from using social media all the time, right? Like, it's not easy. Some people are addicted.
And to be honest, it doesn't only affect um, the young audience. It does. Social
Adult.
media can get you in trouble as an adult.
Yeah.
I know. I've known people that got caught cheating because of social media, because they were too stupid to either leave their account wide open or post something or exchange messages on there with the mistress or the other guy. Um, and their partner saw that, which, you know, when you're younger, it doesn't, or you're not in a committed relationship, it's not that big of a deal. But when you're married, oh, everything falls apart. I don't even know. Um, I would be interested to see what the divorce rate on that would be.
For people who get caught cheating on Instagram
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because
or
I
on.
know most of it is
Uh-huh.
oh, just caught cheating because of their um, I guess
Infidelity.
not, yeah, but not being skilled at hiding it.
You know who are really good at
Being
hiding that
caught.
shit? Women. Women can
I
hide.
don't think so, man. Don't start doing that. Don't start giving them that power.
No, what the fuck? Women have no idea how powerful they are. Is the problem? They're complaining that we're living in a patriarchy, but look at WAP. Look at the shit they're look at what it's done for women.
I mean, what do you mean? Who cares? It's a song. They put it out there, and that's it. Why? I don't know. I don't. Why is this? Why did it become a big deal? I get it because it's women talking about all the same thing that men were talking about in other rap videos and stuff. Um, yeah, but so it's like, so what? Don't. Why is it a big deal? I, like, personally, I don't really care.
Yeah, no, I mean it doesn't. I mean, you may not care, but women certainly do. They certainly do care. I mean, have you ever been married, Grinch?
No, fuck no.
No.
Too
What?
young.
Too young to get married?
What do you think is the
Yeah.
right age to get married?
Ay, now that's a question for the ages. But I don't know, man. Right now, I don't think. Definitely not 18 to like early 20s. Maybe mid 20s you can start thinking about it, but I think it also depends on how long you've been with your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever you're into.
Okay, then
Uh,
so how long does that have to be? Like, if you're dating a girl, like, before you consider marriage?
Me personally,
Well, sure, generally speaking, like, yeah,
I would say probably 2 to 3 years before you start thinking
2 to
about it.
3 years. Interesting, interesting.
How I and just your reaction to that is strange to me because I don't think that's like a big like, ooh, 2 to 3 years, and that's part of what the problem with why there's so many fucking kids getting divorced now. Well, why is that? Can't even have a fucking conversation without you two fucking going, ooh.
No,
And
I'm just saying as soon as you
relax.
said it, it was like instantly
Yeah,
was like, ooh.
yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah,
But I don't. I kind of agree with 2 to 3 years is actually pretty
I
fair. But
disagree.
are
Uh-huh.
you not? So you don't believe in like the
Here we go.
you
He's the
know right
problem.
away, right? Like you don't believe like you can be with this person for a couple months and be like, yeah, this is the person.
I'm not gonna rule that out. mean, I'm not saying I don't believe in love at first sight or whatever. If you want to be all sappy about it, but I think it's a lot
Not
more
savvy.
rare.
Just a question. Just a
I think
question.
well, I just think it's really rare. It's a lot more rare than people think because there's a lot of younger people who maybe aren't, as experienced in that area, and they think that just because this one chick is like super into him and everything is going great and like, oh my god, I found the one, this is it, and it's only been like 2 months. We know very well that these kinds of people exist more than others because we've been in the military and we've seen these young men and how they act when they get into those situations. Rick,
That's a meme. You guys know that? That's a
what
meme.
is?
The soldier that comes home to his pregnant wife after having been away for so long, only to find out that the
That's
baby
not
is.
exactly what
That's
he was
not a
talking
new thing.
about. Yeah.
I know that's not a
He's
new
gonna.
thing, but it's a meme to me. Like as a
But
civilian,
that's not what we're talking about.
That's
I
not.
sorry,
Yeah,
I
no.
was just being excited because you mentioned that's what you mentioned that dudes who get married young and like just end up regretting it later. Which it's funny because I was at a family gathering a couple weekends ago, and some aunts from that side were like, "Oh, are you single? Like, are you dating?" And I was just being honest. And I was like, "No, I don't have a girlfriend or anything like that." And they all let out the hugest like sigh of relief. They all were like, "Oh, you wait." And I was like, "What's wrong?" And they're like, "Oh, I got married too young. You hang on to
Mm.
you hang on to your privileges of being single," because she's like, because they were like, the moment, because once you get married,
Don't
and
don't
because
roll your eyes at them.
it's I'm not rolling my, it's because I didn't want to think about it in a negative sense, because they as women, again, like just like men, have that inhibition to want to be with more than one person. I think, in my opinion, not saying that everybody thinks like that, but if you're talking about the right person and they're telling me that, don't get married too soon, that probably just means that they made the mistake of you know committing to something.
This is fucked up. What I'm hearing is that you think women aren't as smart as men, and that's terrible. That's a horrible thing to think.
No, women
Like
are not as smart
you
as
should
men.
not think that way.
Women are not as
Okay,
smart as
well
men.
that's terrible. I agree with your aunts and all those women that told you that you should have waited, and thank goodness, because yeah, it's a big deal. It's not, people aren't taking it as seriously, I think, as they should, because the way that I see it is sort of an old school mentality where a marriage, it's a holy matrimony. It's not just about, on paper by law you're married to this person, now you're in this tax bracket and you get to have these benefits when it comes to this thing. It's like that's all secondary. The main point of it is this is a holy matrimony before God, not even being religious, but like in just a spiritual sense, like, you're
Well, don't bring
committing.
God into this.
I'll do as I please. You hate women, all right? Don't fucking try to put me into that. Okay. Um, it's just people are taking it a lot more lightly. So like they're just getting like divorced like left and right. I don't remember exactly the year, and it's funny because I tried to look up this statistic and it was nowhere to be found. But I remember it very distinctly. The divorce rate in the U.S. being something insane, which is at
It's
like
like 72%.
50%.
Oh, is it 52%?
No, like it was at like 50%. This was a couple of years ago, but when I went to look the statistic up, and I wish I could pull it up, I looked for it for a while, but it is going down right now. And part of it, some of the things I was reading about was some of the reason was because, and it makes sense, was people going off to war, especially during World War II. They were getting married, and everybody, it's just mostly young men. So you don't know if you're going to see them again, so you just get married. But then when they get back, they're hit with the realities of real life outside the military, and you just find out, listen, this person really wasn't for me. But that's
But then why are people getting divorced now if we're not going to war and shit? Like if we're having,
because they're getting married too young. They're fucking 18 to early to mid 20s or whatever, or they're just getting married after knowing somebody for not long enough period of time. That's why I think personally it should be at least like 2 to 3 years of dating and getting to know somebody and that whole thing.
I mean, I blame it on women. the divorce rate.
I think you've made that very clear.
Because they are the ones who initiate divorce most of the time. I think the percent. I
You're
think
right.
the numbers do reflect that. Um, and
But
men.
just because they initiated doesn't mean that they did something wrong.
Of course not. No, I never said that. I said that the divorce rate
no.
is their fault.
It's not the way that it came off.
Well,
You were like, oh, it's women's fault because they might initiate it because they're in a bad relationship, they're in an abusive relationship.
which is
or-
true. Like that sucks. Like that women who are gorgeous, beautiful, and like deserve like a real fucking man. Like I'm right here for you. Like where are you? Why are you? Like I get it. You're with your high school sweetheart. You think like the rest of your life is there with them, but then like you said, the reality of uh, all that, um, starts to hit. Like, oh, were we just playing house? Are we just pretending that we're happy to be together? I think that happens naturally, that you grow apart from somebody and you want to get a divorce if you got married young, right? But like Trump said, the more people that get married,
Don't do that.
the more people
No,
that get
go ahead,
married,
go ahead.
the more people that get married, the more people file for divorce, the higher the divorce rate is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like that. I'm probably gonna get a lot of
Yes,
flack for that.
I understand logic if that's what you're asking me.
Yeah, the logic,
Obviously,
that
Obviously, if more people are getting married, there's a higher chance of people getting divorced.
Yeah.
well, that's
So
the
I don't
point.
know if
Yes,
we have
that's
to spell that out very
that
good.
was the point I was trying to make.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
Because we know that Juarez likes to just go off and just keep talking for 20 minutes. While I was doing my research, I saw that. He started going off and it threw me off a little bit. Oh, the weird thing was, so there's a higher rate of divorce for people who were living together before they got married, which was weird to me. I think that stood out because I sort of had the opposite idea. I thought probably if you're living with somebody prior to getting married, you're already sort of used to
Yeah,
how
you would
things
know
are.
what it's like.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I saw that. I don't know how accurate that would be because
No,
it's strange.
think about it for a second. I've never actually lived with a significant other, but why tie two things together that are already entangled?
Can we please stop using entangled already?
No, stop.
That's not even the
I'm
problem.
using it.
I'm trying to follow you. Go ahead. No,
Yes.
keep going.
I'm using it
sorry.
in the context of like that two people who are like who have chosen to tie their life together, th- like my argument is, what's the point of getting married if you're already happily living together?
So what's the point of marriage?
I can answer that right now.
Okay.
That's what I mean by, from my point of view, it's a holy matrimony before God. It's you devoting yourself to this other person, in this way. It's not about the tax benefits or whatever else comes with it, because I don't even really know what those are, except for I think your tax return is a little bit nicer when you're married and have kids. Well, actually, I know that, but that's no reason to get married, for Christ's sake.
Again, yeah, sure, but look at Jeff Bezos' wife. That she became a billionaire overnight. Something we forgot to mention.
By marriage.
Sure, but divorce is a hell of an expensive venture. Like prenup, baby. We want prenup. Look, for sure, we know. Well, for those of you listening,
Actually, you know what? I'm sorry for cutting you off. I think it's really funny that you should bring that up because it's a pretty good test. I mean, like let's say you're, all right, let me pose this scenario for you. All right, let's say you're dating a chick for 2 years, right? And you're like, listen, she's the one. All right, she's fucking great. We get along. Sure, we have our fights, but that's normal. All right, I think I want to ask her to marry me, right? How do you, would you feel comfortable with asking her to sign a prenup?
you know what? You can go
'Cause-
first, Rick. I'm not sure. I have to think about my answer.
Yeah, go ahead. This is interesting.
It's tough because I get why it exists,
Don't do that.
but at the same time, the reason you're getting married, it's because you believe that this is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with,
Right.
right? So what's the point of having said document
Here we go.
if we're not going to get, in my mind, we're not going to get divorced?
Beautiful. I'm loving it. Perfect. So here you go. I think exactly the same way, right? Now, a good way
Finally, we
to
agree.
hold on. Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, 100%. Now, the point of it to ask her to sign this thing is like, you know how you feel. You're like, listen, I want to marry you because I love you, regardless of whatever material things we have, however much money there is. I love you for you, and just to have that, verification for yourself, you ask her, hey, listen, before we get married, I mean, obviously I haven't constructed the question very well, but basically it would just be, hey, would you be willing to sign a prenup? And if she gets super fucking upset and mad about it, that might be a small sign of like, wait, why are you getting so upset? I mean, if you are as invested in this as I am, then signing this prenup saying that you can't take my shit from me should we get divorced shouldn't bother you. Because if
I
you
think
love
it
me for the way that you...
a sense of, from there, either one, because either one can ask the other to sign. It's not always
Absolutely.
the man to the woman, right?
Right,
So
right.
when one party, I think, says, hey, would you mind signing this? It shows, at least if it was presented to me, it shows like, so you don't think we're gonna work out?
Yeah, you see, that's the thing.
It puts
where-
already that one piece of doubt in your, and you don't want to go into marriage with any kind of doubt.
I don't think...
I disagree.
I'm not... Well, yeah, what was your take on it?
My take on the prenuptial agreement is that it can be a necessary
This guy.
tool for matters of trust. I am not opposed to a prenuptial agreement. If my future wife, was uninclined to sign a prenuptial agreement, I would sit and then reflect and say, okay, why am I asking her for this? Is it because I'm afraid that if the day ever comes that we choose to separate, we have no issues there? Or am I being naive to the fact that if I don't get her to sign this prenuptial agreement, and I think everything is shits and giggles, and we happen to end up separating, I think that there are a lot of factors in there that are in play. Like, are you not pulling your weight in the relationship, or is there some kind of infidelity
Wait.
issues?
What? This...
Like
what are you talking
these are the things you have to think about if you're gonna get married and you're gonna sign a
Yeah,
prenuptial
but we're
agreement.
not talking about like,
Yeah, that's not what...
done with that part.
No, but
Because
that's what that.
obviously you're already past that if you're asking somebody to marry you. And
No,
you're
but-
at that point. We're talking about just the prenup. That's all we're talking
Just the
about.
No, but a
document, yeah,
prenup. But that's a prenup and a marriage go hand in hand, because you're gonna get.
Well,
if you're-
obviously,
That's what I'm saying.
like
Like,
in a prenup if you're not getting married.
but that's why I'm saying, like, there are a lot of these things that I think about.
Yeah,
Because
those other factors I think you eliminate before. You don't think
No, but
about marriage without like.
that's why I
you
said.
don't propose before thinking about these things.
But that's why I said if my future wife was uninclined, like she was discouraged from signing it, I would then think to myself, like, okay, is it a lack of trust? Am I not pulling my weight in the relationship? Because these are serious things you have to think about.
Hold on. What do you mean not pulling your weight? No. What I'm saying is, like, yeah, if she would feel like, like she doesn't want to sign it, it's not. Why is that on you? It's
On
more
you.
like, wait, why don't you want to sign? I mean, if
That's what I'm saying. Like, it wouldn't just be on me. Think about the things that go through your mind if your significant other, your future wife, is telling you, I don't want to sign this prenup. It's
right,
like,
now, with that, I'm not thinking about what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, why don't you want to sign this? What is your ulterior motive?
I don't
like,
want to
what-
shift the blame to women immediately and say, or shift the blame to her.
That's unusual.
Well, think about it. Why? Okay, I get it. You're saying maybe something is up. Why are you not like? Why is she the one who doesn't want to sign? Again, it could be me, because I get it. She agreed to marry me, but now we're at the. But she's like, oh, I want. But you as a man is like, I want to. I want us to sign a prenup, and she's like, no, I don't really want to, or just says no. Then you have to think about things like, okay, well, am I? Is this a good thing? Is this a red flag? Like, is there something that I'm not bringing to the table? Uh,
I think we need to work on your self confidence. This is
it would be,
No,
you were
it's
right on the
true.
first one. It would be a red flag. I think
Yeah.
if somebody was mine and like, why is it? And then you would have that conversation like, well, why not? What is your thinking of, your reasoning for saying no? You're internalizing it like, oh, she said no, so what's wrong with me that she's not willing to sign it? And I think it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the state of mind of the other person, because the other person may say, I don't want to sign it because we don't need it. In my opinion, if we're going to get married, there is no need for this, because when we do our vows, we're pretty much saying, you're the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with.
And here's the thing, yeah. If you don't need it, if you don't think you need it, what's the problem with signing it?
Correct. I knew that was going to come up, and I think
Yeah.
it's so I think, in my opinion, most people, because when I think about, someday somebody will, agree to marry me, I just have to ask multiple times.
Well, we have our own opinions about that.
Well, it's not your time. When we get to that, I don't think in my mind prenup's gonna come up. Once I make the decision that I want to marry somebody, I don't think that will cross my mind, because that's not an insecurity that I would have.
Depending on how hot my wife is, I'll be honest. I swear, depending on how hot my wife is, I swear to God, yeah, I'm not even kidding. It will determine whether or not I get a prenup, depending on how fucking hot she is. If she's a 9 out of 10, I'm serious. If she's a 9 out of 10, I'm getting a prenup. Because what the fuck, like, I'm a fucking 7 out of 10. Right? If this bitch goes off and, like...
You're a solid 5 in the dark. So...
You see what I'm saying?
Get a 9 to 10, it's definitely for the money.
If I get myself a fucking 9, I'm getting a prenup. No cap.
Like,
because
you brought it up, like Bezos' wife, if he didn't make her sign a prenup, he's fucked.
Oh, but financial matters, that for sure makes a huge difference. If you come from money,
that's what I looked up, actually, because I was like, I'm pretty sure it is, but I didn't want to just say it. It's supposedly the number one reason why
yes,
people get divorced. It's actually finance.
yeah,
It is, yeah.
I want to elaborate a little bit on that. I feel very
Before you go on another 20-minute rant, I think it's important to note that it's not to, like, should you get divorced to leave your partner with nothing. No, that's not that. The point of it is just to, like, make sure, hey, we are getting married, not because of the things we have. So, like, should you get divorced or whatever, if you're a good person, you're not going to leave them out to, fucking, what's the expression, out to dry, hang and dry, or whatever the fuck it is. But unless the situation is, she cheated on you or some shit, then it's like, all right, yeah, you can go fuck yourself. Just get out of here.
Again, like, for me, getting married at a young age, to me would be like, what you guys mentioned earlier. Like, I feel deeply in me that I want to be with this person for, quote unquote, the rest of my life. Now, I'm sure age, like, if I'm like a kid, if I'm a young person, I most likely have nothing. Obviously, I'm speaking as if I didn't come from money, or if I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I was just born a regular, normal human being. Then, if I get married young and I don't have anything to my name except myself and my personal belongings, then yeah, I guess I wouldn't consider a prenup. But as I get older, and I accrue wealth, possessions, assets, a prenup to me sounds just like a healthy step in a relationship that you want to foster with your future wife. Um, and like you, and again, like I do believe that like if I'm choosing to marry somebody, this is something I've reflected on for a while. Like I would love to marry somebody and it be the one person I want to live the rest of my life with. Like I genuinely mean that. And if and and again, like without getting into the nuances of having a healthy marriage, um, the idea of divorce would for me be, I think, something I would probably think about because of my own insecurities, because I'm like, okay, well, we've been together this long, like is this something that I should be, even considering? Like, are we getting too old for each other? Or should, like is divorce at an age where like you both are so old that a divorce means nothing but separation, right? Because if you get divorced at a younger age, I think that's different because you have time to go. You have time to go and date someone else, if that makes any sense, right? Like, does the divorce matter if you're like already getting if you're like old as fuck, versus getting divorced at a younger age? Is a divorce still a divorce, or is that like
It's a divorce. I just think people are less inclined to get divorced if they're already at towards the twilight years. It's just
right?
like, what's kind of the point?
Maybe, yeah, that could be true. Um, yeah, I mean, like getting divorced sucks for men, no doubt. Like for men, we get the
It
shorter
sucks
than the
for
stick.
both parts.
Well, yes, but it's harder on men. A lot harder on men.
Why?
We are learning a lot
Ah,
about David
God damn,
today.
like,
No, I'm serious. I'm
I'm gonna
serious.
wrap it up here, but
I know we'll wrap it up, but I just want to make it clear that divorce for men is a lot more difficult. Like a lot of things in court.
why?
For one, the monetary
Yeah, but
expenses.
sometimes it's not. The woman will make more. That
More.
was probably back in like
No, to this day, it's still happening. Like you may think it happens. It happens still, where you have a situation where this is still on the topic of men and women separating. If you have a child and you're fighting for custody, women in most cases are going to be the designated guardian, right? Versus the father. Um, and those kinds of things take not only a monetary toll, but a very huge mental well being toll. Like, for men, it's different. Like, we
you can
are.
always like they can always go to court and dispute that.
You can't. I mean, what are you saying? Dispute what? Dispute their custody?
That you can, yeah, custody. You can
Right, you
try
can
to
dispute
obtain
custody, but what I'm
custody.
right, you can dispute it, of course. But what I'm saying is, women are more likely to end up with child custody than the father, right? And those situations happen to favor women. Not, I'm not saying that it is um, like a bad thing, but it's something that just is, right? Um, I mean, it's not a surprise that women are the caregivers in a society, right? Like that, they're just more interested in people, and that for me is just my opinion on. Well, I mean, some of it is true, but my opinion on that matter, on the matter of getting divorced or staying married. Um, I've just took final thoughts on this. I do one day plan on getting married. I hope so, but we'll see how that goes. You, Rick, any final thoughts on divorce and marriage?
No, I think I said what I thought.
You know what? I noticed it a few minutes ago, but I definitely wanted to bring it up before we stop recording. Pretty sure my name is misspelled over here because it looks like Girnch.
No, I think your name is spelled fine. It looks fine. It doesn't look
It's
like it.
foreign.
It's yeah. It's what is that? Belgium? Grunch?
Grinch?
Grunch? Yeah.
No, but
You wouldn't know. You're
I've
not
been
Belgian.
looking at it for a few minutes here, but I mean, it looks like cursive.
I think it's just on your end.
Yeah, you must be. You must be hearing. You must be
Anyways,
seeing things.
before he becomes more delusional.
Yeah, save us from.
I-
Save us
How?
from.
You just look at it.
I'm looking at
It's-
it. I don't see anything wrong. I think he must be. Anybody in the comments, if you see if it is,
Again with these
is
comments.
his name misspelled? Um, by the way, internet people, we read your comments. We get your feedback. We know you're listening. We know what you're doing. All right.
Or I'm gonna be more honest. Thanks for the 10 people that have watched at least 17 minutes apparently.
Oh yes.
And
Tell them we can see
not
it.
all of us read your comments.
Yeah, and yeah, we don't always read the comments because there are no comments. So let's be honest here. Supposed to be a podcast cutting through the bullshit. So
Yes,
there's
and
one-
we're
one of
gonna
us who cannot do that.
we're gonna call our viewers out on their own bullshit. Should we talk about any of our plans on how to better communicate with our audience? I wanted to bring up
I
our
can start by spelling my name right.
No, not
that's
right
at the
now. I don't-
that's
I
at the
don't think
bottom
we-
of our.
Yeah.
Is that even
Not
on the
right now.
list? I don't even think it's on the list. So guys, for those of you listening, we really do appreciate you guys. But we see that you guys are kind of stopping towards like the 20-minute mark, 17-minute mark. Are we that boring to you guys? Like, are we not?
What
Give
is?
it boys a chance.
Stop it!
Are we like boring you? Like,
Just
can
watch it.
we're? I'm sorry. Now it's just
Enough of that, though.
That's
Enough of
enough
that.
of that. Yeah, we just call us out on our bullshit. Okay, you let us know
Oh my
if we
God,
sound
no.
like.
Stop
Alright.
it! Jesus, go
Like-
practice calligraphy.
I'm
day.
gonna have to bleep that out because if it comes back to bite me in the ass.
Don't you fucking dare!
All right, I want to thanks again, guys. I want to thank you guys again. Signing off. Peace. All right.
That was the
Thank
perfect
God I had to
ending, I think.
fucking